Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome along to another episode from LandPowerTV.com. Today you find us in Saxham, which is in Suffolk, and is home to Claas UK. And what a home it is, because it has seen some serious changes in the last 5 to 10 years. And today we are going to get a good look around, I suppose you could say, the finished article.
The full tour.
That's it, and it is a full tour. We have got a full tour coming up. So we've got quite a few guides on this tour, one of which is Patrick Frawley here. So Patrick, just give the boys and girls a little bit of flavour of what's coming up.
Yeah, so good morning, James, and as I say, welcome to Claas UK. Really and truly today is all just a little bit of a closer look at the different aspects we have around the business, so our parts, our service, our academy, and then a little bit more on obviously some recent product updates that we've had, whether that be the new digital team or a little bit of more on the push on the tractor side of things, or some harvesting bits and pieces. So a general day for sure, but I'm sure it'll give a lot of really good information.
It should be one hell of an insight. So I think what we'll do, ladies and gents, is in this episode you'll see the full tour of the facility here at Saxham, and then probably in another episode, because we're about to head off now as well and have a look around your customer experience, where you actually have a proper ride and drive track set up. So
it's all right, James, it's a playpen really.
It's a big playpen for big kids such as myself.
Me included.
So we've got that coming up as well, and we'll probably put that in another episode. But for now, let's get stuck in, Patrick, shall we? Let's get around this mammoth site.
As we kind of talked about it, the whole site was redeveloped over about a period of 5 or 6 years, roughly speaking. And like we said, that was done in various different phases, and every single aspect of the business kept operational in some form or fashion. So we never closed parts, we never closed service, we never closed training. Every single part of the business kept rotating around in different cycles to ensure that we could actually keep supporting the customer network here in the UK, and that was the key integral part. Now, one of the things that maybe wasn't so much mentioned, it probably would have been cheaper and easier and quicker for us to actually move location. But you've probably picked up, and you guys will be fully aware, for us as Claas, it's a very, very important part to make sure that we're conscious of our history, where we've come from, the family orientation around the whole structure of the business. And that's why we made the decision, and it came from the top tier, to stay here at Saxham, because this is where it started and that's going to be where it remains, and this is where we will remain going forward. So that's the key thing about the whole site redevelopment. Now, in terms of where we're standing at the moment, this is one of our 2 showrooms. So 90% of the year, this is all orientated around tractor, material handling and green line product. The second of the 2 showrooms, which we'll see in a moment, is all orientated around harvesting equipment, and then a little bit of history as well. Now, before we move on into the man's side of the business, guys, I just wanted to give you a little bit more context as to how we've been pushing tractors on our various different customer experience days that Trevor's mentioned to you. So behind you here, you'll see a few rigs and a few little bit of explainer tools and bits and pieces that we've used in the past for the different events that we've done. Now, if we look at last business year, as Trevor mentioned, we've done about in the region, I would say in the last 18 months to 12 months, we've cycled through quite a lot of customers all the way from England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. All of our different dealers, I want to say, have brought at least a fair share of their customers here to the different events. Now, the way in which the day is set up, the morning event up until lunchtime, what we would do is a little bit of a site tour like you guys are on at the moment, and then we would dive into a little bit more of the technical detail of what's underneath the housing of the gearbox. Once we then get to lunch, and after lunch then it's all sitting on the seat and driving as well. So what we do here is we just explain a little bit of the logic of how our CVT transmissions are working. So for us as Claas, we are very, very proud in the fact that we are going all the way from 125 horsepower right up to 653 horsepower in the CVT segment. It's something that we're very, very proud of, and we know that this will be the future of transmissions. So again, I'm sure you guys are all aware of, obviously with engine technology changing, that's something that's going to change and evolve, and we don't really know where the goalpost for engine technology is going to end up. But us as Claas, we are fairly confident in saying that bolted to the back of an engine will be a CVT transmission of some form or fashion. Now, what we see here, this particular transmission that we see here on the table and in the crate here behind us, is our EQ200 gearbox. So what we would see inside on our Arion 500 and 600 range. And this is the gearbox that we have designed, manufactured and build ourselves. So again, we're kind of pushing the principles of how a CVT works with our own gearbox. Once you move into the Axion product, then we are still partnered up with ZF. But again, the principles of what we see with both gearboxes are very, very similar. The design logic of what we put into our own box has been taken a lot of the principles that are in the ZF boxes today. But again, first introductions, we're not going into technical details of flow rates and tightening torques or anything like that. We're explaining the simple operations of CVTs in terms of the hydraulic mechanical split drive. So we have our nice little rig here where we can use to explain the simple operation of what an epicyclic unit is here. So again, the key thing that we're hammering home to the guys is the two major components that we see here really encompass about 80% of the components which sit inside of the gearbox itself. Not an exact number, but you kind of get where we're coming from. So we're hammering home the simplicity of operation, we're hammering home the reliability of the gearbox, and we're hammering home the performance of it as well. We've also then done some more specific events for tractors as well. So you'll see on the far side, if I take you over here quickly, just before we move on, we've also got a nice drivetrain rig of an Axion 900. So very nice comparable two machines here. On my left-hand side, we have our flagship wheeled machine from Le Mans, our 445 horsepower Axion 960, and on my right hand side is the bare bones of the machine, what we would see underneath the bonnets, underneath the tires, and so on and so forth. So it's a brilliant little tool to compare and contrast how our 900 series is built, but then also the kind of the principles of the design concept of Claas tractor. So our well-known 50-50 weight distribution, a lot of the components that we're using, how they're all tailored, and how we actually have, you know, kind of call it industry-leading pulling performance within the field as well, especially within the 900 segment as well. Good. We'll keep moving, guys. We've got a little bit of a sort of a tight time schedule to keep to, but as I say, fire questions at us as and when, all right? So, walking in here, it's the easiest way to kind of distinguish the two parts of the business. In simple terms, to understand how the site of Saxham works, the easiest way to think about it is two businesses that work in the same building or the same location. You've got us as Claas UK, which work as the wholesale side of the business. We are buying the machines from the factory, selling them to the dealers. We're supporting the dealers. We then have the other business on site, which would be Mans, and their specific branch location here at Saxham. Now, obviously, Trevor's mentioned Mans fall under the retail side of our business, so we do own them for sure, but to think about it in simple terms, think about it as two separate businesses. And to distinguish where they are, we have the front door. And when you guys walk in through the front door in the mornings, you can go left for Claas UK, or you can come into here on the right-hand side from Mans. And that's the easiest way to kind of distinguish how the business is split. Now, Mans of Saxham being based here gives them a couple of little differences to a lot of our other dealer locations around the UK and Ireland. One of the big things is going to be the whole after-sales side of how they operate here at Saxham. So, key thing about that, Mans of Saxham, technically speaking, don't actually have their own parts warehouse. They have only the Claas UK parts warehouse. Now, big benefit in the fact that they probably have one of the UK and Ireland's largest stock holding of agricultural parts. And that obviously gives a huge amount of flexibility in terms of the machines that they can support and so on and so forth. But what that means is they, technically speaking, can't go in and pick their own parts. They have to go through us as Claas, because we have to make sure that all of our dealers across our 80 different locations have an even distribution and they're all getting supported evenly. So a big benefit in terms of the fact they have all of this stuff on site. Good. I'll pass over to Mr. Portman here and we'll go on into our second showroom.
So before we kind of move into the harvesting side of things, because that's what we're looking at now, we're going to step a little bit back in time. And this is essentially what we call our history corridor here at Saxham. So in front of us, you see one of our original Super Combines. The Super Combine was first originated in 1946, just after the Second World War. I think Trevor explained to some of you last night about kind of the origination of machines into the UK market. The British government essentially looked at these combines that were being produced in Germany just after the war and said that this is something that we need. And the actual product itself, the Super Combine, when brought over to the UK, actually proved to be better than some of the products that we were building in the UK at the time as well. So that's really where we kind of took the first steps and brought the machines into the UK, because we were seeing this performance gain from the machines themselves. So let's say the Super Combine originated, it's essentially a mowing, threshing, binding machine. So again, a mowing deck to cut the crop you see there at the front where Noel stood. Essentially then a threshing machine, so you'd see the bagging unit on top of the Super Combine, and then essentially a binding machine as well, so essentially a combine baler unit as one. So we had the opportunity to run this as a trailed unit. It could be run behind a machine. A lot of customers back in the day would use this actually as a static unit and would feed it with crop in from the side of the machine as well. Just kind of a bit of a trivia point as well. Some of the first Super Combines that came over from, again, the late 1940s, the actual original wheels on them were actually reused from World War II aircraft planes from the German war as well. So again, people always ask us what were Claas building during the war? Well, for us, it was machines. The Claas units over in Germany, the farmers, they needed some form of product for their own harvest as well. So again, very much for us, it's always been about harvesters and about agricultural products as well. So we ran the Super machine roughly until like the late 1970s. So we would have sold anywhere up to 65,000 units into the world market during that time of production through to where it is today. And this kind of originates for us. You can see the original colouring, the original kind of grey take on it, and you can see the actual original Mans of Saxham sticker. Because again, as Trevor has already mentioned this morning, we're the first importers, the Mans family, to bring this product into the UK market itself. And you can even see on the photo behind you, one of the very first Super Combines that was sold into the UK, and you can see the engineering team there, the technicians of the time, generally very well dressed. You can see the blazers and the historical clothing from the time. That's something you'll see a lot more as you go through the site, some of the historical photos. And you can actually then see the original Mans van as well. So you can see the service Fordson vans back from the day too. So again, Trevor on the presentation would have shown you these photos, and you can actually see our recreated service van here at the front too. So the Fordson van is a 1950s Fordson van. It has been refurbished. Of course, the paint job on the van is very well kept over the years, purely for the reason it's been refurbished. And you can see that the Mans family, actually, when Katrina opened the building a few years ago, actually donated some of the original Mans tools to the Claas building as well. So again, the tooling that you see there in the back of the van is the very same tooling that you would have been seeing used on the Super machine behind you today. Move to 2024, and that's what we see a bit further back into the Technoparc today. So as we move into Technoparc 2, guys, we're now looking at combines and we're looking at forage harvesters. And this is where, for the likes of CUK, we'll be bringing our customers intake, whether it be from Ireland, Scotland, Wales or England. We'll bring them here to Saxham and be able to show off the products that we have available, whether that be through the actual hands-on product here itself, or whether that be through some of our display rigs that we've managed to get from the factory over in Harswinkle too. Bit of a take on harvesting market today, because of course today we'll be looking at a lot of the building, the site, but I want to take a chance just to talk a little bit about the harvesting market here in the UK. So for harvesting, we're very proud of our heritage and what we do regards to market share and what we do for the amount of products into the UK. So generally for us, for foragers, we generally resonate around about the 50% market share ream for the UK and Irish markets. And also when we look at the combines, then we're anything between 42 to 45, dependent on the year. So that's been quite a big growth over years that have gone past. And the biggest trend that we also see in farming in, say, the last 15, 20, 25 years, it's the size of the product. So the likes of what a combine today is doing is a lot more. A single unit is obviously a lot more than what combines were doing 10, 15 years in the past. So the actual sizing of the UK market for combines has decreased, but the size of the models and the production of those models has increased. So we as the UK today, if we look at the likes of Europe and even the world, with some of the harshest conditions in the likes of the UK, because we have very large yields, we have a lot of straw, but generally we also cut at a very high moisture when you compare it to other parts of the world. We're cutting at 15 to 20% dependent on the crop. So what the big demand for customers today is we need higher output machines, absolutely. We also then need autonomy. We need some more automatic systems available on the combines. And that way, for us, whether it be Lexion or for Trion, we offer a full range of autonomy systems on the combine. We call those CMOS, we call it Cruise. These are some of the acronyms you'll get to know you've known from the past and you get to know today as well. So what we see today is customers wanting larger combines, absolutely, or even if it's just a mid-sized machine, but more autonomy. And that really is where we've made a big stand the last 10 to 15 years on our autonomy systems here on Claas. So the full autonomy of the likes of the threshing unit, the drums, the concave, the rotors, the sieve box, the fan unit, all of that type of stuff for us is something we've got a very large heritage on and we've done for many, many years. And we're now to the point where As I say, when we start looking at our larger Lexion 8000 machines, almost 75% of our Lexion 8000 machines we sell today will have some form of autonomy on, at the very least, whether that be full automatics or whether that be just our basic automation systems inside too. So today for combines, I'm a combine guy, so I'll talk about combines to begin, absolutely. We are selling into the UK market Lexion product, we're selling Trion product, and even last year we introduced our Evion product, which is our smaller range of combine too. So again, that Evion range for us is replacing where we were with Dominator for many years in the past. Dominator is a very well household name when it comes to the world of combines. Really for us, where we've seen the growth and where we've seen the change is the uptake for our Trion range, absolutely. In the past, we would have sold maybe 90% of the UK market would have been our Lexion range. Today, we're roughly talking 50% Lexion and 50% Trion. The reason we can do that, essentially the customizability. What options can we put onto the machines? We've got a very large range of Trion models today, whether it be walkers or hybrid models. We've got a large range of tracks, Montana systems. We've got a lot of range of options in the product as well. Because today, the Trion and the Lexion are going down the same production line at Harswinkle. I think some of you have maybe been to Harswinkle in the past. So today, the same product is going down the same line. Gives us a lot of flexibility. We today can put some of the same options onto a Lexion as we can onto a Trion. But really for us is where it's heading is where the customer's expectations are. High performing, bigger drum systems like we see in this rig behind us. Customers generally want the Lexion range. They're going for a bit, maybe 20% more capacity over what they've had in the past, absolutely. For a customer today that's very happy with their performance level, but they maybe want a new updated machine, they want some new features they've never had in the past, and that for us is where the Trion range sits in the mid-level, and that's where the most overlap comes in the likes of our product range today as well. But for our forager market as well today, I hate to say it, but that's really the most achieving, let's say, product that we have in the world market today. 1 in every 2 foragers in the whole world is a Claas Jaguar forage harvester. So whether that be the likes of Europe, be that the likes of North America, anywhere in the likes of any of those countries, that really is number 1 across the countries, all those countries for us today. And we're very, very proud of that, and we have a very big heritage of that, all the way since self-propelled back in the 1970s. So our biggest selling models we sell in the UK, 970 Jaguars, but very popular models. We also sell a lot of the 800 range to a smaller family farms, small contractors, dairy units that don't need the output. They're very predominant grass machines here in the UK, especially when you go to the West Coast. We are starting to now see an uptake of course large machines like the Jaguar 990 you see to my right hand side, especially in the likes of the East Coast, predominantly for maize consumption. For AD work you need a lot of horsepower to chop it consistently to a tight level, and therefore you need more horsepower, therefore you need a bigger model of forage harvester as well. So again, the 970 is generally our all-rounding model. Absolutely, and this year we celebrate 50 years of Claas Jaguar forage harvesters, and you'll see that with a special detail on the side of the bonnet unit, and you'll even see in the market today or online today, you'll see our special Jubilee edition, which maybe I think most of you maybe saw at Agritechnica if you were there as well. Right guys, we're going to go through the door then, we're going to work into Man's workshop quickly, okay?
So what we're showing here, I know everyone's tendency is to look at the shiny metal in the workshop, that's everyone's natural reaction. What we wanted to show you is the digitalisation of the service process. So this is a program which we call the Digital Service Manager. So basically as soon as we get an alert from a machine which can come in digitally, so maybe we get an alarm message for error codes, it could be that we know the machine is due a service because we know the operating hours. What we're creating is an automatic work order for the service workshop. For sure, there's also jobs which get raised manually when customers pick up the phone, and we can manage them through this digital process in the same way. But to start with, just an example here, we've got a list of incoming tasks, and we can filter this list just to show me incoming services. We can look at alarm messages from machines, licenses which might be going to expire, for example, for GPS steering systems. So we're creating a list of tasks for the workshop to handle. Every time we create a job in the system, every dealer has a dealer management system, and they're creating a job, a work order if you like, which is showing us in here the jobs which you have in progress. When we're ready, we can click on a job and we can dispatch it to a service engineer. And as soon as we do that, they all have a mobile phone, and on the mobile phone they have an app for the Digital Service Manager. And they're receiving a notification that says, please can you now go and complete this service job. It gives them a time frame, it allows the complete operation of the workshop to be digitalised, and once they've started to work on that service job, they can fill everything in digitally on the mobile phone. So for example, all failure parts, for example, are added onto the job on the mobile phone. The photographs that we need, any information we need for warranty purposes is all added straight onto the job card digitally by the service engineer. The end result for us, it's all about minimising downtime. We know the value of the machines, the complexity of the machines increasing, it's keeping the machines moving and just being more proactive to the service response.
Essentially where we are today now is we've moved into the MANS sector. So we've gone through Technoparcs, of course, where we've been in Claas UK. We've looked into the MANS offices through the window, but now we're actually in the MANS of Saxham workshop today. And those that know the history, where MANS of Saxham have come from, we used to use essentially the second-hand World War II hangars that were essentially the old workshop unit. It's quite dark. There was only one entrance into the workshop, so to get machines in and out was an absolute pain. So essentially, when we rebuilt the site, of course, we rebuilt the workshop system itself. And this, again, for us, isn't just what we're doing at Saxham, but it's what we're trying to replicate across a lot of our now dealer network across the UK and Ireland too. So there's a few key features which I'll quickly talk about before we make our way out. But if we look at the workshop itself, it's an 8-bay workshop. So again, it allows the guys and girls that work inside here to bring various different machines in. But especially when we look at the harvesting products, if you think, especially if we're doing a lot of winter servicing, MANS of Saxham might be doing over 100 combine services a year, then essentially it gives us the ability to bring the combine in, to bring the cutter bar in on the front end as well, and then we can kind of match the machines in depending on what space we've got available to ourselves. So to allow us to do that, you can see all the extractor units above us too. So again, this is something you see quite commonly now in the industry, where we have extractor units which will again hook up to the end of the exhaust system on the combine, the tractor, whatever it may be, and we can actually exhaust all the gases outside. So again, gives it a safe environment for the people working inside here as well. The other key element as well is we use the crane rig. So again, all of our workshops today, we try to build that have a new kind of central crane rig across the workshop area. Again, gives the guys and the girls that work in here health and safety support. So again, if we're working on heavy products, it gives them the ability to do so. But also it gives us the efficiency. It means that we're not having to pull 2 or 3 people off one job to maybe move something around. It gives them, again, the possibility they can move heavier items around through the safety of a larger crane unit as well. So we'll put the investment into that to make the people that work in the workshops' lives a lot easier and make it a lot more, more efficient as we go through the year too. The final point is you can see all the pipe work down the left-hand side wall here. So again, the piping system we have, if you think about, again, a service today, we're having to draw oil out of the engine or the hydraulic system and replace it with fresh oil. So again, to do that, we're either having to take barrels up the steps or we're having to get various different sources of means to get the new consumables into the machine itself. The piping system you see on the left-hand side wall, it's actually designed to do 2 things. It's to plumb in and to pipe out. So we can actually pump all of the external, the waste oils, hydraulic oils, engine oils, out of the machines, and they're stored in a bulk storage the other side of that far wall, and that is then taken off to the Suffolk County Council. But we can actually then plumb in all the consumables as well, so hydraulic oils, engine oils, whatever it may be. The guys and girls that work in here can actually plumb into their little kind of computer system exactly the literage that they require. That will then pipe it into those machines, and they're filling those machines exactly as well. So again, makes us more efficient from an invoicing point of view, and it makes us more efficient from a consumables point of view as well. So again, small little parts, but again, make a big thing as to what we're trying to do from a service life and how to make those their lives a lot easier and a lot more efficient too. So again, that's what we're doing here, and that's what we're trying to replicate across the UK and Ireland. And that's essentially what we see kind of started, for MANS at least, has started here at Saxham as well.
Hello everyone, I haven't met some of you before, so my name is Michael Ives, Product Manager of Tractor Material Handlers here at CUK. Been here now for approaching 12 years. But the reason I'm on the mic now is prior to becoming a Product Manager, I was in the after sales department, so after sales division. So I'll just quickly talk about the wash bay before we go down the bottom. The reason for showing you this is the yard we've just come through, under the ground, we have almighty great water tanks. What timing, what timing. So there's almighty great water tanks under the yard. The reason being, we harvest all the water coming off the roof. Why do we do that? For washing. As you can imagine, it takes quite a lot to keep all these machines clean, but also we need to make them clinically clean for going abroad. Not just when they're exporting a machine when it's sold, but also even sending a demonstrator to Ireland. So every single used machine, also our demonstrators come in here for example as well, every single used machine, you'll see down the bottom later on, they come in dirty, they go through the wash process. So we have the wet wash bay and we have the blowdown bay. So you can see it's not just Claas machines, all the other trade-ins machines for example, or during COVID time support machines for example, absolutely every single machine will go through here to be washed. So it's got the blowdown area at the side there, which is the dry area, a mighty great compressor sat in there, but then the wash bay here for making everything clean. So we have 2 guys based here, they're both self-employed, running their own cleaning company, and like I said, they have to be clinically clean. By which I mean, there will be a DEFRA vet come in and they'll certify it for export. And I think from memory, you've then got 14 days to get it out of the country. So we have to work like clockwork. So there'll be like a chain of the combines going through, or for example my ex-hire tractors will come in here to be washed for going to Ireland, for example. The other thing I just wanted to draw your attention quickly to, because we'll go in the parts warehouse later on, are the water tanks. So the water tanks, again, it's all harvested off the roof as well as being supplied by the mains. That's for the fire suppression system. So the warehouse is the only part of the site that has fire suppression, but I'll talk about that later on when I'm in the parts, because it's sheer volume of parts we got in there. For insurance purposes, we have to have fire suppression system. So we'll go through that in a bit when we come back through the site. The reason for holding you here temporarily before we go inside is this area actually has a lot of historical relevance to the company. So Trevor alluded to, or Trevor showed you about the history of the Mans then going into Claas. This was production back in the day. So some of you are already aware of that. I was chatting to you walking down. This used to be production for the old Ranger and the Targo telehandlers until the early 2000s, when it moved up to Desford in Leicestershire, and then the Targo was built under licence by Caterpillar. But prior to that, this also was Mans Engineering. So some of you might know the name Mans Engineering. So we're talking the assembly of machines as they came in the country, the combine headers, the trolleys, they were made here. So they used to come in on a skid pan. They were made up into a little trolley. Things like Jaguar, when they were starting putting engines on, even engines on combines I've learned very recently as well. When tractors weren't big enough or people wanted more output, they plonked an engine on. So the old 75E, 60E Jaguar, that was all done here as well. And also oilseed rape, maxi swather, that was made here as well. So that was a bit of a speciality for Mans. That was sold worldwide out of here as well.
So welcome to the CUK Academy. So as Trevor mentioned a little bit earlier on, our academy was almost the second point of Saxham that we kind of refurbished. This was 2016, 2017 when we refurbished the building, as Michael's just explained, and we've turned it into our academy site. So this is actually the original academy building since 2017. We have actually extended onto that now. You'll see that a little bit later on when Patrick takes over. But what we're looking at CUK, what do we distribute? We distribute the likes of support, we distribute the likes of parts, but we also distribute training. And this is where, for us at CUK, we do all of our training. So as well as the technician training, which we'll talk about a bit more later on, we do the parts training. So again, to train up the likes of our parts staff on the likes of the software systems we use in the dealership, the database systems, of course. We do the apprentice training, which Trevor's mentioned a little bit earlier on, and I'll let Patrick talk about that when we get later down the building. But the really important one as well is the customer. We do a lot of customer training here at Saxham. We specifically do that today for the likes of combines and foragers, and I think in the future we'd like to do that for also other products. But essentially we take a bit of a rein as, let's say for example we sell a customer product. We wouldn't expect that product to be delivered, dump it on the door, and then just willy-nilly go off and use it. They might be coming from an older product, or they might be coming from a competitive colour. So again, we really need to be able to train those customers on using that product and getting the very most out of it. And that's what we do here at Saxham every year. Now that's if we do it face-to-face. Now of course there's a lot of people that have to travel from Scotland, from Ireland, wherever it may be. They might not have the ability to come here and do the training face-to-face. So we do also offer virtual trainings. And this is something that really grew during COVID, was we couldn't get people through the door. How do we train a service technician? How does Rob talk about his new Connect systems, or James talk about the new Connect systems? Well, to do that, we actually built our own virtual classroom elements. And we learnt a lot of that over COVID. And if I'm honest, we had to kind of lead our way on that. As Claas UK, we designed a lot of the different systems to do so. And a bit of that to make more sense is we're going to take you upstairs to where the kind of the staff here will build the content, but we'll also see a lot of the new virtual elements which we'll talk about when we get up there, okay? So come on through, guys. So, virtual training, guys. I've got to thank Aaron, because Aaron's actually delivering a live course at the moment, so all the guys and girls are on a break. How many have you got on today? You've got 7 technicians on the training at the moment. So essentially what we did, guys and girls, is we put a lot of effort and a lot of emphasis into our virtual elements. So to do that, how can we give virtual training to the dealer network, be it parts, be it service, be it sales, but based here at Saxham? So we built this a few different ways. We essentially had a makeshift green screen room, like what you see here, but down in the workshops. We'd have a bit of a canopy backdrop with a simple camera and a simple computer system to be able to then allow our technicians to stand in front of the green screen room, like you see here, and to be able to personalize the content that we're showing to the dealer network. And you can physically be, like you see here, stood in front of a diagnostic system and be able to point to various different systems and be able to really give the training infrastructure to the guys and the girls on the other side of the screen. We don't just do it via the green screen system, we also do it via cameras. So again, if I talk about technician training or I talk about customer training, we can actually then set up in the workshops maybe 5 or 6 different cameras, and we can do like a live recorded session stream it straight to the dealers or straight to the customers. With a system like this, we don't actually have any limitations on how many people we can put on. If we wanted to, I could put 50 or 100 people on the virtual trainings, but what we generally try to do is keep the numbers very low, because then it makes it more personable. You can go in and you can ask questions. If there's only a small number of you, it means that you've got a lot more kind of contact with the technicians, whoever it may be. So we did that down in the workshops. We did that via virtual cameras, and we still do that today. And then what we actually put a lot of money and effort into is the room you're stood in now. This is the green screen room. I can't imagine why it's called that. But this is anywhere between, say, an input for us of anywhere between £20,000 to £40,000 worth of equipment. And that's via lights, that's via software systems, that's via integration systems, be that speaker systems. And that really allows us to tailor the training that we can give to the engineers. So again, for example, today Aaron, who is our in-house engine trainer here at Saxham, but he's actually giving a CDS course. That's a Class Diagnostic Systems course. This is the system that all the technicians would use when they're in the field and they plug into the combine or the tractor, and that's the interface that they're using. So if they need to use that system, we need to train them on how to use that system, and that's the course that Aaron's delivering today. Now the course, of course, the software, it's all software, so we don't necessarily have to spend a whole day getting technicians just to come here to look at a laptop screen that they're going to use in the classroom. It doesn't make sense. Why pull them out of their area or off their dealership just for a day? So instead, they can be based in their workshops or in the offices in their dealers, and they can essentially do the very same course, and Aaron can deliver it here. And you can see, just like I'm stood here, he can come around, he can point to various different bits that he needs to talk about, and he controls it all from upstairs here as well. Now, with the green screen rooms, just like you see on the BBC, you've got to have a lot of light. It keeps the shadows away. That's why it's so bright in here and it gets so warm. Means if you've got any shadows there, of course, it makes the image more distorted, and you don't want that. Really, this is where we're putting a lot of emphasis in, whether it's, we're still doing face-to-face, of course. We need sales guys, we need technicians to come in and nuts and bolts and do all the proper stuff in the workshops. But it really does, for us, give us another ream of training that we can give to our world network, let's say. And even, I say world network, we actually, Aaron and John, one of our other trainers, actually spent a few weeks, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, training some of our Australian counterparts, technicians down in Oz. So again, they had they were looking for a certain type of training. Aaron and John could deliver that training, and they actually came in here to do a night shift to give that training session virtually to the guys and girls over in LandPower in Australia. How many days was that running for, Aaron?
8 weeks.
Oh, 8 weeks, okay, so not, yeah, maybe more than a few days then. So yeah, quite a long time. So it does give us that flexibility as what we're trying to do in here, ladies and gents.
So, ladies and gents, walking into the final workshop of the Academy in this building actually demonstrates how we've had to change the site since we started the whole redevelopment process back in 2014 already. So this building, as Michael would have mentioned outside the front, was initially a factory. We then refurbished it into the Academy back in 2016, 2017. Back in 2017, there was initially 4 workshops, 4 classrooms, and that looked after all of the different training requirements for the entire business. We then got to about 2021-ish, roughly speaking. My dates will be a little bit blurry, but around 2021. And we then made the decision to invest in our apprenticeship program. So we actually further extended the Academy. So when we walk out the back doors in a moment, you'll see the further 3 workshops to the Academy. So in total, we're now up to 7 in total workshops. Where we're standing at the moment, initially used to be the combine training for the service techs, now is apprenticeship program. So us as Claas are now a licensed training provider by the government for level 3 land-based engineering apprenticeship schemes. So if you look at the agricultural machinery sector, pretty much 100% unique for a company like ourselves to make the investment into that. And if you cast the net a little bit further, it's nearly 100% unique within the automotive sector as well. So it's a very, very new and different thing for a company like ourselves to make the investment into becoming a licensed training provider. So you're probably wondering, why make the investment? Why be the first ones to do it? Well, historically, us as Claas UK have been partnered with 2 colleges, Reeseheath and Barony College, to be providing the apprenticeship scheme. And at that stage, when we were partnered with them, it was a 4-year scheme, and it was roughly about a 20-80% split. So 20% of their time at the college, roughly 80% of their time at the dealership on the ground over the 4-year period. But we found, probably getting towards the end of that 20 years, that maybe the quality of the graduating apprentice, was maybe slipping a little bit, and we were finding their ability to think on their feet actually repair things, fix things was maybe being a little bit diminished in sort of a broader sense. You know, individuals obviously are different for sure. So we made the decision to make the investment in our own scheme and kind of essentially bring it back to basics, if that kind of makes sense. So headline figures, it's still 4 years and it's still a 20-80% split, which hasn't changed from the old scheme. But what we are teaching them when they are here is what we have changed and altered. And as you can probably see from in here, and you'll notice when we go into the next room in a moment, is the hand skills or the hard skills is what we're focusing on a heck of a lot more now. So you'll identify all of the welding bays, grinding bays, cutting bays behind us. So the sort of the basic fabrication skills. You'll see engineering skills in terms of lathes, milling machines in next door as well. So what we want Mr. Apprentice to be able to do now is be able to arrive on farm and identify actually how he can repair something instead of just parts swapping. That's the key thing that we're trying to build back into the graduating apprentice. Now, if you looked at the old scheme, it was 4 years. If that apprentice then wanted to go on to become a master mechanic in tractors, which is a further qualification through our academy here, that would take them, roughly speaking, 2 to 3 years. And if they then wanted to go on further to that, to become a master technician, probably about 10 years in total when you group everything in. What we've tried to do with the content that we're teaching them during the 4 years of being here is integrate the whole master mechanic structure for tractors into the apprenticeship scheme. So essentially, they're nearly 3 years further ahead than the guys graduating the old scheme. What we'll do is we'll quickly pop in next door and just show you some of the facilities over here, and then we'll keep moving on to parts after that. So, obviously, ladies and gents walking in here, this is, call it, the more engineering side based of the hand side of things. So you'll see things like lathes, milling machines, drill presses. A couple of interesting little fun facts for you. The drill press that you see on the far wall over here, the bigger of the 3 lathes and the folding machine which was in the other workshop actually originated here on site in the 70s when we used to manufacture equipment. For a short time they went up to Man's. We then bought them back off of Man's and refurbished them and brought them back down here. So all of those, a few of the items have actually been on site for 30, 40 years over various different locations. And you'll notice then the other bits, a lot of what we bought in is older stuff that has been refurbished and modernized. Like I said in the other workshop, what we're trying to do is instill the understanding of engineering practices, material sciences, what they can and can't repair, so that when something does break, and they need to get it going then and there, and they can plaster it for a little bit, they can say, oh, I can go down to this engineering workshop down the road, I can get him to lathe it up for me, and we can get the man going while we're waiting for the part that's maybe going to be 2 days. Now, interestingly as well, we don't only just get them to lathe down a rod for the sake of lathing down the rod. What we do is we get them sometimes to manufacture their own sets of special tools. So special tools exists in the Claas world, in the John Deere world, in the Case world, we all use them. If you think about combine or harvesting products, sometimes what we'll do is we'll put bearings or pulleys in fairly inaccessible places, but we'll sell special tools to be able to remove them when they need to be removed. But those special tools can be pricey. So what we then get the apprentices to do is manufacture their own sets of special tools, so they're understanding how the equipment works, but you're also then hopefully teaching them a little bit of respect into their own tooling, and you're adding that into their stockpile of bits and pieces in the van as well.
So obviously we are now in the parts warehouse. This is our, should we call it, it's a buzzword, the decentralized parts facility. So we have made the volume about 2.5 times larger than the previous warehouse, while on a smaller footprint. So we've gone a long way up height-wise. Some headline figures for you then. So it's over 500,000 individual items you've got in here. So about 525,000, I think, from memory at the last count. If you want to do some stock check, you are more than welcome. I spent 6 years of my life in parts before moving across to product management, so I know a bit about stock checking. And we have a hit rate, so the pick rate, about 98% fast moving parts. So just to take you a step back a minute, we've got 3 different sections here. We've got the mezzanine, which is the small parts directly next to the goods, the packing bay. We've got the larger parts here in the middle, and then we've got the cantilever racking at the side for larger parts. So pretty much everything is undercover, either in this building or in a lean-to just at the side there. So the overall volume is a lot bigger here as well. So we are stocking more than before, We used to be 4 racks high, I think from memory, we're now up to 7. We've still got the room to expand, but as well as holding more stock here, Patrick alluded to it when we were on the tour earlier on, we're using a system called PIM, Parts Inventory Management. We love an acronym in the Claas world. Parts Inventory Management basically makes our parts system here more fluid like the dealers. So we're holding more parts, the dealers are holding more parts. So seasonality, local machinery, so for example, Hamleys down in the southwest, they don't want lots of Lexion parts, they might want more green line equipment, more mower blades, more jag blades, that sort of thing. It makes it more fluid, so it means more parts going in and out to dealers under here as well. Some other headline figures: 6 workers based here all year round. We go and 8 extra workers seasonally for harvest time, for example. We used to do 24 hours picking. You probably saw it on the historical photos when we were going up and down the corridor. It's now 7 AM until 10 PM every single day of the week during harvest, 2 shifts. All the parts, like I said, are picked over there. It's about 500 boxes a day. Another little headline. I know you like your headline figures. About 500 boxes a day, and during harvest we'll get up to about 6 tons a day going out the door. So that's during harvest time. So your order deadlines, like I said, it's all supplied here. So we have an Arctic coming every single night that supplies the network on like a lunchtime delivery. We have a little 7.5 tonner that goes from here to Birmingham Airport, and that does their overnight run. So a part will be guaranteed in front of a dealer's door overnight for VOR orders, vehicle off-road orders, and that's all done from here. If we don't have it from here, like I said, we've got a 98% pick rate from here. We get it to come from Ham. Some of you might be aware of Ham, which is about an hour southeast of Hartlepool. And they have, again, an overnight service. So we have a plane comes in every single night from Maastricht in the Netherlands to Birmingham, again goes out in the same network. Or if the worst of the worst happen, we will put things on taxis, lorries, that sort of thing. The same for here. Taxis, we use the local taxi company, we use the local bikes. I've been out in van myself back in my old job. My record is Saudi Arabia. A guy flew his mother in, his mother was here from Ireland, he flew a guy into Heathrow and then sent the part back to Saudi Arabia. So if needs must, we'll do it. The big thing we don't stock, talking about engines next door, we don't stock engines. Because there's so much variety, so many different iterations, you guarantee if you had one in stock, it'd be the wrong one. The only thing that's a little bit different, just casting your eyes over here, things like string, oils and that sort of thing, that is purely for the local dealership. Because they don't have their own warehouse, we stock it here for them. So that's why you'll see things like Horse, Stewart, Grange parts here as well. Mans of Saxham, I say, does not have its own warehouse, like we said. They got the team based at the front for customers coming in the front door, but we stock it for them.
Right, ladies and gents, I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope it's given you a bit of an idea as to what we're trying to achieve here at Saxham. So as you can tell, we've put a lot of money into it, put a lot of investment, and really for us, what the key takeaway points are is the emphasis we're trying to put into our kind of building of our departments, our new connected teams, our new after-sales elements, our training facilities, of course. And really for us, it's the way we can kind of benefit the customer. As I say, what influence or what benefit does it give the customer, whether it be from a service side, be from a training side, be from a parts availability, or even just a supportability is what we're trying to achieve here when we're at Saxham today. So again, really kind of historically, we've always been located here at Saxham and we have no plans to disappear off anywhere. You can see that from the site itself. So I hope it really kind of reaffirms what we're trying to achieve when we're over here in Burial, UK-wide and Ireland-wide as well.
Well, there you go, ladies and gents. I hope you have enjoyed that. I've certainly, well, I wasn't quite expecting it on quite that scale. It is, yeah, it's very impressive what you've done at your Claas HQ in Saxham. Thank you to yourself, Patrick.
No worries at all, thank you.
All the other presenters and guides today, all the Robs that we've had throughout the day, and Michael as well. So it's been absolutely fantastic. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as we are filming it and walking around and learning lots about this place. Like I said before in the intro, we're going to do another part now. We're going to head on over to the customer experience, well, the big playpen.
That's the one.
And we're going to try out some of these tractors and yeah, check out this test facility that you've got for your customers. So we've got that in another episode. Go check that one out if you haven't done so already. And for now, thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, guys.